Well, good afternoon, everybody, on this damp Thursday afternoon. This is my 95 Neon, and what I'm about to tell you applies to just about any vehicle in the world. For some reason, when I would stop, this vehicle would pull to the right, and I got to looking, and I really couldn't find anything wrong. The struts are okay except for the driver's side over here, and I thought, well, maybe that was causing the issue, but it turns out even a bad strut will not cause your car to pull to the right. It's usually a caliper, a brake issue or a braking problem. And what I found on this car, if I stand beside it, as I was going straight down the highway, I would hit the brake, it would pull to the right. Well, the caliper on the right side of the front of the car was grabbing before the left side was on this side and causing it to go to the right. And basically what it was doing, the front right caliper was grabbing the brake like it should, but since this caliper has been sticking, it was a little delayed, so it didn't grab this disc, and by not doing that, the car wants to pull to the right. So I pulled the brake off, and here's what I found. I actually tried to put some different shoes on it. Off of these are brand new shoes. These are off of a Stratus, same year, but they're just a little bit different from the 95 Neon, and the reason is you got your clips just a little bit different. This old brake shoe fits right up in there. The one I put on here isn't quite right, so I'm gonna have to go to the parts store and buy some new calipers. Brake pads, actually. So this is my newer caliper. When I pulled the old one off, I knew right away there was an issue, because when I looked at my rotor, I've got a groove cut deep inside the rim, the hub. And if I hold this up here, you can almost see where I had a problem getting the brakes off, because it was cut down in there pretty deep, and this outside ridge here you see was not allowing my brake pads to come off, so I had to take a screwdriver and actually force the whole brake caliper off. So that was the issue, and it looks like if I get some new brakes now, it should be okay. And one other thing you can do is, I have just a regular old caliper here, press, C-clamp, that's what they call it. I went in the old caliper here, and I tried to let me just set this here. This is the old caliper that came off the car that I'd been driving for a while. That's bad. I stuck this in here, and I tried to force this caliper back into the cylinder so I could put the new pads on, and it would not budge. It was very difficult to get back in. So I knew right away this caliper is done. So I went and got my other one that I kept in the garage, and I had no problem pushing that piston back into the caliper. So I should be okay now with my brakes. So I'm going to have to put the old pads back on and run out to the parts store real quick and get some new pads. And that's it. But if you have a brake car that pulls to the right or left, the opposite direction is pulling is usually the caliper that is bad. Other than that, I can say is you just have to kind of look. And also, a pretty good telltale sign is your rotor. If it's shiny and it's got a ridge cut in right here, this means this caliper has been sticking longer, wearing down into the rotor. And also, my brake pads, they wore down pretty good. It was just about down to the tab that makes it squeak. So that is it for now. Thought I'd give you guys an update. So if you want to work on your vehicle and you got a braking problem, not a big deal. Just make sure you jack it up safely and put the emergency brake on and go to work. All right. That's it. Have a great day, everybody, and hopefully I helped somebody out today. And by the way, this Neon, my 95 Neon, it only has 52,000 original miles on it, 2.0, and air conditioning. How often can you get an air conditioner in a 2.0? Huh. All right, well, here is what I'm working on today. Brake rotors and a brake caliper on the front that is sticking. Recording. Well, I got my new brakes on today. The passenger side is done. I took a little sandpaper and I cleaned up that rotor just a little bit. It had just some light little marks on it, so I figured I'd clean it up. And there are the new pads. And I should be in pretty good shape. It should stop a lot better. The old pads that were on it, they were really wore down. There was really nothing left of them. You can see pretty thin there. So it looks like I'm pretty good. It's all on there and everything, and all I gotta do is put the wheel back on. Now I'm gonna go over here and do the driver's side real quick, and let's look at it. Well, I got my new brakes on today. The passenger side is done. I took a little sandpaper and I cleaned up that rotor just a little bit. It had just some light little marks on it, so I figured I'd clean it up. And there are the new pads. And I should be in pretty good shape. It should stop a lot better. The old pads that were on it, they were really wore down. There was really nothing left of them. You can see pretty thin there. So it looks like I'm pretty good. It's all on there and everything, and all I gotta do is put the wheel back on. Now I'm gonna go over here and do the driver's side real quick, and let's look at it. Well, on the driver's side, I figured since I was going to do the brakes, I did the bushing on the other side, the lower control arm. I think you can see that right there. See how wore out that is? That's where all my pulling has been coming from. When I hit a uneven place in the road, the steering wheel would kind of move a little bit on you, and it would kind of throw you off the road, especially if you're going 55 or 60. It's kind of scary. But here's my new bushing. $16, brand new. You notice this has only got one place cut in it versus the old bushing. It has two places cut in it there, and it is not as sturdy, but I've already replaced the one on the passenger side with one just like this. So this one came today. So I figured if I'm going to do the brakes, all that. Matter of fact, I got my caliper unfroze. I tore it apart, cleaned it, put it back together. And this plastic boot, this boot on this one is very easy to work with. Once you pop this caliper out, I just pumped the brakes until it popped out, and I used my bucket there to catch the fluid. Then once this pieces out, this center pieces out, this boot you see here just kind of slides in right there. It's got like a little metal sleeve there. It doesn't go on the inside of that. So this is really easy to take apart and clean, and now it's freed up, so I do not have to buy a caliper now. That is free. All I'm doing now is going ahead and take this lower control arm off, and if you watch some other videos, you will see how that is done, but I'm not going to get into that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and take this lower bolt out of the ball joint there out and unhook the tie rod in, pull this unit out, and drop this lower control arm out. I have replaced this sway bar bushings. I don't know if you can see those right there. Sway bar link bushings. I've already replaced that, so that's not going to be an issue for me even to take that apart. If you're doing one of these and you have not replaced it, it's all rusted up and everything, you're probably going to have to cut it out, unfortunately, to get yours out. But mine's got the new polyurethane bushings on it. Alright, enough talking. Let me go ahead and take this sway bar off and put it back on. We'll get these brakes on and clean the rotors up and take it for a ride, see if it pulls to the right anymore. Update. Yesterday I was putting my car back together, and of course my caliper's still sticking, so it just drove me crazy. The caliper was unfroze, and I could not figure what was making it stick. I'd hit the brake and the thing would not release. Eventually it would release, but you could feel it. So it turns out I needed something called, and I left it in the car, I just went to the parts store and bought it, flex line brake cable. Apparently the old cable that's on here is collapsed and it's causing issues. Now, before you go buying new calipers and trying to replace your master cylinder, thinking that it's bad and everything, do yourself a favor, loosen up this screw back here on the back of this caliper. I can't think what they call it today. A banjo screw, I guess is what they call it, or something like that. Loosen this up, get yourself a big screwdriver, something like this, and if you can, well, actually when this is on the rotor it's easier to show you, but if you can force this caliper and these brakes back into the position real easily, and fluid squirts out around here, when you loosen this, it's your cord that is it's frozen or it's collapsed or some issue with it. That's why this brake has been sticking. I'd hit the brake and it would squeeze the caliper, but apparently there's blockage in here. It's swelled up, and it acts like I don't know, some kind of a restriction, and doesn't release the caliper, and it's causing my brakes to stick. So that has been my issue the whole time. And by the way, this was only $14 brand new, so that issue will be solved here shortly. The other issue is I've got my lower suspension control arm out. I had one hell of a time. Before you even try to take yours out, make sure you can get the bolt out right there. Now, how I got mine out, I had to put a jack out of the transmission. I went up here, took that bolt out of the transmission where the mount is, jacked it up about an inch, got me a big sledgehammer, which you see right here, and I had to beat the shit out of that bolt until it came out. And there's a reason why. It was rusted in there, and it was very difficult to get out. The reason I say do this first, if you can't get this out and you take everything else apart, you may have to put it back together and drive it until you figure out a way to get this out. So the bolt itself broke loose, no problem, but this part, centerpiece, would not come out of this here. And you can see it is rusty. So by me jacking that up a little bit, that transmission, they gave me enough room to get in there and smack that bolt 3 or 4 big hard times, and eventually it came out. It was very difficult. So hopefully you won't have an issue with that. The other side was no problem. The bolt came right out, but for some reason that one was an issue. All right. That's the update. I'm going to go ahead and put this new bushing in. There's my new one. And by the way, here's the old one I just took out. Look how flimsy this thing is. No wonder my car was weaving all over the road. It ain't supposed to be like that. That is pretty bad. I can squeeze that. Feels like a marshmallow. But the new one, much more sturdier. I am not going to replace this one. I've got a new one. That one's okay, and my press, I just have no way to get that in there with my press. It's sort of limited how I can angle this in there. But this one's no problem. I've replaced these before, and I put a little paint on there just to kind of mark it so I know which way is up. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get this back together before storms roll in here this afternoon, because I am going to go storm chasing, maybe get some hail video today. But just so you know, these flex line brake lines apparently do go bad. All right, I'll give you guys an update in a little bit after I get it all together, and we'll take it for a ride and see how she does. All right, I got the new bushing on. Make sure you get it on there the right way. Don't put it on there backwards. On mine, this flat oval area, this big area here goes upward. And check your ball joint, make sure it's okay. Mine's in good shape, just the boot's torn a little bit. I have another boot to put in there, and here's how I got the old sleeve out. Cut it just like that. Take a chisel and hammer and knock it out, and I use my little saw. All right, stick her back together. See what happens. Okay, ladies and germs, finally it's done. There is my new flex line cable, brake line, all the way up to there. Although I did have to grind this bolt off right there. I don't know why that wouldn't come out, but there's what's left. I just took a grinder to it and I redid it and put another new clip back in there. I think you can see that. And it turns out that was my issue. Here's my old line, and I verified it. I tried to blow through it, and it is totally plugged up. So I am very happy. I've already started this, put it in gear, and that brake works amazing. You just barely touch it, and it stops it now. So I am happy. It's all done. So if you have any brake issues, you might want to check your line just to make sure. But apparently they collapse and get rotten on the inside. This is the first one that's ever done that to me. But just verify that first before you go out and spend $50, $60 on a caliper, because that could not be your issue. And besides, this is an easy fix. And it's a lot cheaper. All right, we'll take this out for a ride here and we'll see how it goes. All right, folks, I'm driving it, and boy, what a difference. I can hit the brake now. It doesn't pull to the right. And I'm actually going downhill riding the brake, and that steering wheel pretty much stays right in the middle where it's supposed to now. So I'm not having any more issues with it. I'm very happy. Make sure you get all your bolts tight and everything before you put your wheel back, especially the motor mount bolt if you have to take it out. And make sure that all your bolts are nice and tight. Put your wheel on and take it for a ride, see what you think. But boy, I can just barely touch those brakes now, and they'll throw you through the windshield. So it has made a tremendous difference on my part, that's for sure. Now, I want to correct myself about something I said earlier about if you have a bad strut, that won't cause it pull to the right. In some extreme cases, it may pull to the right a little bit, but in most of the cases I've seen, it doesn't do it. Like, I have a bad strut now, I can kind of hit the brake, and it doesn't pull to the right. It might sink down faster, but it should not cause it to pull to the right or left, depending on what side your strut is bad. Alright, that's the end of the video. I'm going to take it for a ride, take a nice hot shower, and head out and do some maybe storm chasing today. Maybe get some small hail. But it's running great, and hopefully this video will help you guys out. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. Hopefully I've made my video clear enough for you to understand, and I'm pretty much got it ended now anyway, because my cell phone limits 15 or 20 minute videos on the editing system that I use. So have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching, and take care and good luck.